On to the next one. Matches to make after UFC Vegas 110. The UFC returned to the Apex for UFC Vegas 110 on Saturday, but couldn't escape the weirdness that has plagued recent cards. This time, it was Ante Delia getting knocked out moments after a bout was stopped, and then restarted when Delia poked Waldo Cortes-Acosta in the eyes. The controversy threatened to overshadow Steve Garcia's outstanding win over David Onama in the main event. But regardless, the UFC has two surging contenders in Garcia and Cortes-Acosta, both of whom have unclear paths to a title opportunity. On an all-new edition of On to the Next One, MMA Fighting's Mike Heck and Alexander K. Lee discuss what to do with Garcia, following what Mike believes is one of the worst callouts in UFC history, and Cortes-Acosta coming off of their latest knockout wins. Additionally, we discuss the Yadier Del Valle win that is shrouded in controversy due to some fishy business on the Isaac Delgarian side, and future matchups for main card winners Jeremiah Wells, Charles Rodke, and Alan Nascimento. All that, plus wild card selections and the usual excellent assortment of listener suggestions. Audio-only versions of the podcast can be found on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever you find your favorite podcasts. On to the next one, matches to make after UFC Vegas 110. The UFC returned to the Apex for UFC Vegas 110 on Saturday, but couldn't escape the weirdness that has plagued recent cards. This time, it was Ante Delia getting knocked out moments after a bout was stopped and then restarted when Delia poked Waldo Cortes-Acosta in the eyes. The controversy threatened to overshadow Steve Garcia's outstanding win over David Onama in the main event. But regardless, the UFC has two surging contenders in Garcia and Cortes-Acosta, both of whom have unclear paths to a title opportunity. On an all-new edition of On to the Next One, MMA Fighting's Mike Heck and Alexander K. Lee discuss what to do with Garcia, following what Mike believes is one of the worst callouts in UFC history, and Cortes-Acosta coming off of their latest knockout wins. Additionally, we discuss the Yadier Del Valle win that is shrouded in controversy due to some fishy business on the Isaac Delgarian side, and future matchups for main card winners Jeremiah Wells, Charles Rodke, and Alan Nascimento. All that, plus wildcard selections and the usual excellent assortment of listener suggestions. Audio-only versions of the podcast can be found on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever you find your favorite podcasts. On to the next one. Matches to make after UFC Vegas 110. The UFC Vegas 110 proved once again that the fight game never slows down. From shocking knockouts to grinding decisions, this card had it all. Every victory reshaped the trajectory of a fighter's career and raised intriguing questions about what comes next. With Steve Garcia, Waldo Cortes-Acosta, Natalia Silva, and others putting on impressive performances, the post-event matchmaking possibilities are as exciting as the fights themselves. Here's a deep dive into the potential next steps for every major winner and standout from the event. Steve Garcia came into UFC Vegas 110 as an underdog to many analysts, but left the cage looking like a man reborn. His striking has evolved tremendously, showing the composure and precision of a veteran. His footwork, feints, and control of distance were key to neutralizing his opponent's offense. He never rushed the finish, but remained calculated and dangerous at every turn. The win wasn't just another notch on his record, it was a statement that Garcia deserves bigger and better opportunities inside the octagon. When it comes to matchmaking, the perfect fight ahead could be Billy Quarantillo. Quarantillo is known for relentless pressure, wild exchanges, and cardio that never fades. Garcia's crisp boxing versus Quarantillo's all-action style would produce an instant classic. It's a fight that would test Garcia's technical prowess against Quarantillo's volume and aggression. Both men are hovering just outside the rankings, and a win for either could catapult them into the top 15 discussion. Waldo Cortes-Acosta has been quietly building a reputation as one of the most consistent heavyweights in the division. His jab-heavy approach, measured pressure, and defensive awareness have made him a tricky puzzle to solve. At UFC Vegas 110, Cortes-Acosta controlled the tempo, outstruck his opponent, and showed improved takedown defense, an area that critics often targeted. The logical next step for him could be a collision with Justin Tafa. Tafa, known for his knockout power and brawling tendencies, would bring out a different side of Cortes-Acosta. The matchup pits discipline against chaos, and that stylistic clash would make for compelling theater. If Cortes-Acosta can neutralize Tafa's power and impose his game plan, he would finally earn the respect and recognition needed to step up to the ranked tier of heavyweights. For Tafa, this fight is a proving ground to show he can adapt to a patient striker without walking into counters. Natalia Silva's rise continues to impress the MMA community. Her fluid movement, accurate striking, and sharp fight IQ make her one of the most technically sound fighters in the women's flyweight division. At UFC Vegas 110, she dominated in every aspect, showcasing her ability to blend timing with creativity. She is now knocking on the door of elite company. A perfect next matchup would be against Erin Blanchfield, one of the division's most promising contenders. Blanchfield's grappling and ground control versus Silva's dynamic striking would create a stylistic masterpiece. The bout would determine which young star deserves the next step towards title contention. Silva's takedown defense and striking diversity would be tested, while Blanchfield would need to prove she can handle the striking storm of a technician like Silva. It's a matchup that screams title eliminator, and fans would tune in eagerly. Brady Heistand is another fighter who deserves recognition after UFC Vegas 110. His grit, composure, and relentless pace showcased a fighter maturing with every outing. His wrestling base allows him to dictate where the fight goes, but what stood out this time was his striking evolution. No longer a one-dimensional grappler, he mixed his hands fluidly with level changes. A great next fight for him would be Ricky Tarcios, another alumnus of The Ultimate Fighter. Both men have cardio for days and share a fighting spirit that refuses to back down. The matchup would bring nostalgia and intensity, a blend of technique, chaos, and heart. It's the type of fight that defines who truly belong among the division's rising stars. Jose Johnson's performance also deserves attention. He displayed a mix of patience and calculated aggression, proving that he's evolving rapidly as a bantamweight. His timing, especially on counterattacks, forced his opponent into hesitation. The right matchup for Johnson next could be Damon Blackshear. Blackshear, known for his scrambling ability and slick submissions, would test Johnson's defensive awareness. Both men are underrated, but each fight like they have something to prove. The winner could be the next breakout name in a division overflowing with talent. Elsewhere on the card, several fighters made strong impressions that could lead to exciting matchups. In the middleweight division, prospects like Jacob Malkin and Yoon-Jung Park continued to showcase consistency and growth. Malkin's ground control remains suffocating, and pairing him with someone like Andre Muniz could reveal whether he's ready to step into deeper waters. Muniz's dangerous submission game would challenge Malcolm to rely on top control without falling into traps. It's a battle between two grapplers where one small mistake could decide the outcome. At lightweight, a few veterans showed there's still plenty of fire left in their careers. A fighter like Jordan Leavitt, known for his unorthodox style, could be a solid next test for an up-and-coming prospect from this card. His unique movement and unpredictable submissions always make for interesting matchmaking discussions. Pairing him with someone like Steve Garcia down the line could create a fascinating clash of styles. Precision striker versus quirky submission artist. UFC Vegas 110 also highlighted the constant evolution of fight IQ among developing athletes. Fighters are no longer relying solely on one dimension. They're blending striking with clinch work, grappling transitions, and strategic pacing. The coaching improvements across camps like Jackson Wink, ATT, and Factory X have become evident. Even in prelim bouts, there was a noticeable emphasis on cage control and calculated aggression rather than reckless exchanges. This reflects a broader evolution in MMA's tactical landscape. Fighters now study tendencies as deeply as they train for power. As fans look toward the future, the excitement from this event fuels speculation. The UFC's matchmaking team has a golden opportunity to build storylines that can stretch across multiple cards. Garcia's potential rise in the featherweight division could parallel Cortes-Acosta's push into the heavyweight rankings, creating parallel narratives of underdogs climbing their ladders. Natalia Silva's ascent could intertwine with the next generation of flyweights, such as Manon Fiorot and Erin Blanchfield, setting up a future rivalry reminiscent of Shevchenko versus Nunes. UFC Vegas 110 may not have had the promotional hype of a numbered card, but it delivered meaningful movement in multiple divisions. These types of events are the backbone of the organization, where prospects turn into contenders and contenders inch closer to stardom. The Octagon once again proved to be the world's most honest testing ground. If UFC matchmaking continues to build on the momentum from this event, the next few months could be packed with must-see fights. Fans should expect announcements soon as contenders like Steve Garcia and Natalia Silva prepare to make another leap forward. Whether it's Garcia versus Quarantillo, Cortes-Acosta versus Tafa, or Silva versus Blanchfield, these fights will shape the landscape of 2025.